This is the Black and White Podcast. My name is Dave.
My name's Matt.
And before we get into this week's topic, I'm curious, Matt, how are you feeling? How's your overall health?
My overall health is okay. I could be better. I could be more healthy. I could lose a couple pounds. Never hurts. I think we all say that. But I'd say overall, I'm pretty good. I think.
Okay. All right. Okay.
Is there something I should know?
No. I mean, I don't know. Maybe. I feel like I might be fighting a little something. I mean, it's springtime in Texas, so like my allergies are going crazy, and it's that time of year where I play the game. Is it a sinus infection? Is it COVID, or do I just have allergies? And I think maybe I'm fighting a little MMF. And please, no one Google that. That's a risky Google. But for the sake of this podcast, MMF stands for Marvel Movie Fatigue. And after I don't know, like 30-ish films and 6 or 7 Disney Plus shows, this has lasted for 15 years.
Yeah.
Has it hit a wall? Have we as consumers hit a wall? We're gonna talk about it.
I'm not gonna answer that question. But yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, don't answer the question yet. This is just more of a philosophical question until the end of the episode, where we'll make a decision. I guess you're waiting on me.
I am waiting on you. I'm waiting on you. You always
All right.
have some elegant soliloquy at the beginning, so I'm waiting on you.
Okay, all right. So we'll go with the preamble. I mean, I think you know me pretty well, better than most. I tend to romanticize. These movies are no exception. As a kid, I dreamed of being able to see these types of things in a movie theater. We got superhero movies before, but they were generally not very good. And once Iron Man came out, and we got that lead up to Avengers, and Avengers was like a fanboy dream come true. God, I was in tears of joy watching that. And have been multiple times since then, as other things have happened in that first Infinity. I'm gonna call it an arc. It was like 20 some films, 27 films or whatever. Masterful in terms of taking what I loved from the comic and putting it on a theater screen. I love going to the movies. I think the movie going experience is one of my great joys. I think there's no better way to watch a movie than in the movie theater with a big bag of popcorn. So, yeah, I mean, I fell in love with the MCU very quickly, and God, it has checked so many boxes for me. It was just making me happy, like the happiness that I get from watching those movies, unparalleled in terms of consuming visual media.
Okay. Huh. All right. Yeah, I mean, I feel much the same way that you do. I mean, I know I can only imagine for you, like, as a more invested comic book reader, like seeing those stories on the big screen. And you've read comics a lot longer than I have, but I definitely, when you got me into comics, I, like most things, go all in. So seeing like stories that even I had read in the short amount of time that I had been reading comics, but like you did a good job of giving me a lot of the high points, or these are series you need to read. But and seeing those things adapted, not maybe one for one translated, but more so adapted to the big screen. I agree about I think these movies mean a lot more to us than maybe some of the normies. I mean that's we're all normies in something, but and I think it's okay to be a normie too, but like I think these movies legitimately mean a lot to us, and we are emotionally moved by them, and I'm okay to say that. So
I mean, I've cried in the theater multiple times because of these movies. I will say though, they started out as movies for comic book fans,
I
and
agree.
somewhere
I
around
agree.
Guardians of the Galaxy 2 and Thor Ragnarok, they turned
Yes.
into movies for the masses. I
Yes.
don't necessarily believe they're aimed at comic fans exclusively anymore. I think now they are what they are, and they are their own thing. I don't want to just classify them as like big budget action movies or like whatever. Like the MCU is its very own unique thing that some have tried to copy, and and few have attempted something um as grand as the MCU has,
Yes.
and none have succeeded. And
Yes.
not just I pointed at my little signboard behind me. DC and their DCE um, is to put it bluntly a joke. And Legendary Pictures tried it with the MonsterVerse, and they just it was kind of half-hearted. Um, but connected universes now are popular and important because of the MCU. But is it too much? Like
Uh, I mean, if we're really going to the heart of it, for me, yes, I think it's hit its
really?
point. Yes,
Okay.
I do. For me, um, Endgame for me really was the culmination of a lot of things, and I think for a lot of people it was in regards to the MCU. Up until Endgame, I was invested in just about even the ones I know we might disagree on this, but I know we have a commonality about Thor Ragnarok that we were not huge fans of that movie.
Massive,
Up
massive
until
hot take. Massive hot
yeah,
take. But yeah,
yeah,
I
I
don't
know.
like that movie.
Yeah, I don't like it either. But I bought it. I bought it on 4K Blu-ray.
Me
Like
too. I own every single
up
one of
until
those
yeah,
movies.
like so I was very invested up until Endgame. I feel that the MCU, in my opinion, um, they've really blown their load of like the good characters, in my opinion. Uh, they've lost the futurist, which was Robert Downey Jr. The God, who is Thor.
They didn't lose
In my,
Thor.
he's lost, in my opinion.
Why? Why?
Whatever version of Thor this is, it, and that's fine. That's not my version of Thor that I want to see.
Someone hasn't watched the Love and Thunder trailer yet,
I've seen the Love and Thunder trailer. I
and
know
you're
he's in
still
that.
out on Thor, huh?
I'm still out on Thor
Okay.
because Thor's a complete joke character now,
I
in
mean,
my
he is
opinion.
he is a bit of a punchline.
He's a punchline character.
He's a bit of a
So
punchline, but he's not. Okay, so I agree with you in the sense that like the version of Thor that we would like to have in the MCU is probably gone forever.
yes,
But the character Thor
sure.
in the MCU is not. Chris Hemsworth has said he'll play
So
Thor for as long as they'll let him.
of course I would too. Why wouldn't you? But
There's a
let me
lot of
finish.
actors don't want to do that. A lot of actors don't want to do that. Actors and actresses don't want to be typecast, don't want to be seen as only playing one role for their whole career. He is absolutely an exception to the rule. Most do not want to play the same character forever.
Okay, but you're still getting away from my point of like the version of Thor that you like and I like
Hmm.
is this isn't the Thor that the version they're going, and that's perfectly fine.
And I can see how that would wear on people like us.
Correct,
That can cause some fatigue. Like, oh, I got to sit
correct,
through 2 more hours of some more slapdick
correct,
Thor comedy, and it's just like
correct. But like,
I don't know if I have it
so
in me.
all right, let's get off of the God. Okay, like whatever. Thor is still here. Okay, you can have Thor. The futurist is gone for the time being, at least. RDJ, Iron Man, which is an essential character, and I can't think of a better casting, man. Like I've really tried to rack my brain of like who can step in and fill that role. Like we said it, whether you like it or not. When I read Iron Man comics, I hear his voice in my head, and I don't like that, but that was just so ingrained in my head.
Yeah.
And for me, Captain America, man, like I love that character so much. And for him to not really be around anymore is one thing. And tragically lifting up my Black Panther shirt Chadwick Boseman,
Man,
man,
that one
passing,
hurts.
and it hurt
That one
like that hurt
hurts.
us. That like really it hurt the
God, I
black
know.
community. It hurt
Yeah,
everyone, but it hurt us all.
some of
So
his
for
some of the
me,
things he was saying, and I know this is what
yes,
some of the
go
things
ahead.
Chadwick was saying in interviews,
Yes. Oh my gosh. Oh
and
my
like
gosh.
going
What
back
he
and
was
like
dealing with.
seeing that
Yep. Yep.
after he passed.
Yep.
Oh,
Yep. So even if we lost RDJ, which I think is essential, he is the foundation of this. The Iron Man character is the foundation of the MCU in my opinion. Um, Captain America. I think we could have got through it if we had Chadwick Boseman as the Black Panther, but
we do have Sam Wilson, Captain America.
we do, we do. But in my opinion, is more of a comic guy. I these are, and here's the thing about me. I'm not. We're gonna have these conversations in these podcasts. I am not going to ever crap on someone for liking what they like. You like what you like, man. Like if you like that Thor
Absolutely.
Love and
Yeah.
Thunder, like I'm happy for you. But like for me, that's not what I necessarily want to see. I'll probably go check it out. Like I will always remain open minded. If Dave is like this movie is excellent, I will go check it out. But on the surface level, for me, I'm okay with having my 26 films and whatever. And for the most part, and closing up shop and being happy, and I can revisit that. And I won't crap on anyone else. I know other people might, but that's not my personality. So the stuff that's good, I like the Spider-Man movies. I like them, and those are post Endgame. But like for me, when I'm saying me being excited and pumped up, and every movie I gotta be there and camp out, like that's just not me anymore, man. I got my fill.
I don't necessarily think that what you're describing is fatigue, though. You're just talking about a personal preference. You're not saying that there's too many movies or too much content. You're just saying they're not doing things that I personally like anymore. And the characters that I want to see aren't involved anymore.
I do think it's too much though. There's a fine line. I feel like when the MCU, when it was when it was coming, there was like one movie like a year maybe, or every few years staggered. Now it's like you have all these movies, you have one every year,
That
maybe
was that was
two.
only the first that was only the
First
first
wave,
phase.
like
Yeah,
the
that
first phase.
and that's because
Well,
it wasn't planned out. They were still figuring out whether or not this was
sure.
going to be a thing they could continue doing. And once it was, it got into like a really good cadence of, you got 3 movies a year. That's still the
I
case.
sure it's too. I think it's a lot of content. I think the Disney Plus shows you got to keep up with. Ideally, they want you to keep up with these Disney Plus shows. Watch this because it's additional content and it's leading to the next thing and leading to when things start becoming a job and a chore. Like I just that turns me off.
And
That's
this is
all.
coming from a dude with a short box full of comics he hasn't read yet. I don't think I
Sure, but
buy it.
those are that's content I enjoy and content I want to engage in. I don't have to engage in all these. I've read these comics, so like I can jump into the movie and probably understand where it's going. Like I don't have to watch everything.
Hmm. Okay.
You have just as many
I still
comics.
don't know if that's fatigue so much as it just is like I'm just self-selecting out. Like I'm just not interested in it anymore. Unless
It's
your
fatigue.
disinterest is caused by fatigue, maybe.
It's fatigue because like you what I think it's fatigue because it's for so many years it's been going on and going on and going on and going on, and I don't know, maybe I'm just disinterested. That could be it, but it's fatigue because it's a lot of content. If you miss one thing, it's like you're on to the next thing, you're on to the next thing, you're on to the next thing. It's
But that's what I love about it.
and that's
There's
fine. You can love
that,
that about it.
here's
That's
the thing. Like as someone that grew up as a Marvel fan and is still one
sure,
today, I prefer Marvel over DC, despite my many constant complaints about some of the things that Marvel does with their comics.
sure.
At the core of my being, one of the things that I want the most, the tight continuity within my Marvel characters. The MCU gives that to me over and over and over. Because if it happens in one movie, it happened in the MCU. and you can't just pretend like it didn't happen later. I guess you can with time travel, as we saw in Endgame. That's different. That was changing the past to change the future. But, like, you know how it is in the comics, right? Like, we've talked about
Yeah,
this on this podcast before, like, they do stuff, and then the new
yeah,
writer comes in, and they go, "Ah, you know what? I didn't like what that person did for me.
sure.
I'm gonna retcon. If you don't like that, whatever, the next guy can change or the next girl can make it better or whatever, flesh it out more, I don't know." The MCU, happens, it happened. There's only so much of it. I love it. I
I would agree
love
that
that the
there's
shows impact
yeah,
movies. I love that there's at the last episode of every one of those series has a after credits scene, and they're building to something more, whether it's going to be a movie or on a plus show. Giving me it's checking all the boxes for me in terms of like continuity of Marvel characters that I love.
and I agree with you. Do you my fear with the MCU and that continuity and that tightness is I have not seen the new, Doctor Strange movie. I know you have, but
Phenomenal.
yeah, when you start getting multiverses involved, uh, it's an excuse to just be lazy. Um,
Hmm.
I no, I haven't. I'm admitting that I have not seen this movie in this particular scale, but it's in regards to the comic book universe and all that kind of stuff. When you can do whatever you want, when you don't have parameters, you can just do whatever you want, and that it just becomes too much, in my opinion. I
I mean, that's
I
fair.
like you
Yeah,
know I
that's
like
fair.
tighter, I like street level more characters and content anyway, which is more linear. But like when you can just pull a Captain America from here and and when everything matters, nothing matters, in my opinion.
Yeah.
So
That
that's
you're
my
right.
only fear.
You're
That's
right.
my only fear with like
So
multiverses.
I think that, and I could be wrong. I think that part of the introduction of the multiversal aspect is for them to expand the Disney
Beautiful.
Plus offerings with animation that can be set on a different Earth without interfering with the core of what is the MCU and what makes it great. Because, and you mentioned
Okay.
this, and we've talked about it already in this episode, when the movies kind of pivot from being like for the comic fans that the general public can enjoy to being movies made for the general public that also comic fans really like, um, you have to make sure that you don't overcomplicate the core of that universe. That's actually some of the if you look at negative reviews for the new Doctor Strange, there are some that are just like saying, you know what, I don't understand this because I don't read the comics. And I disagree with those reviews because I don't think you really need to read the comics to know what happens in I think it's relatively easy to follow. And if you watched WandaVision, you're set.
Okay.
That WandaVision is the only prerequisite
I like that. I like how
for
you
Doctor
broke it down
Strange.
like an academic advisor for me. I appreciate that. Prereqs. It's good stuff.
Well, you know, I don't want to spoil the movie because you haven't seen it. Like, um, the things that they kind of set up in terms of multiverse within the MCU, I think it gives some uh it does give them some license to do some things that we may not enjoy, which would be kind of do out of continuity, out of MCU continuity things, or do crazy stuff in parallel with the main MCU that would get things to be a little bit more confusing. But it also firmly sets up what we saw from the Infinity Saga to be like the document of record for the MCU. Like this is like the main, most important multiverse universe, whatever you want to call it.
The main MCU films is
Yeah,
what you're
like
saying. That's
yeah,
like
the
that's the Earth Prime kind of thing or whatever, the
yes.
prime time.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
And man, watching watching the Infinity Saga, really watching from Age of Ultron through Endgame and then WandaVision and then Doctor Strange. Holy shit, man. Wanda's arc in this universe is just so chef's kiss.
Well, no, I mean, and
Ah,
that's good, man. I'm glad that you're you're enjoying it, and if it is executed as well as you're describing it, that does make me a little bit more excited. Um, but yeah,
I agree with you with the shows. I think the shows could potentially be a problem because they're doing what, like 3 a year, I think.
yeah, and the movies, the shows are coming out. Like I thought, WandaVision was good. I Captain America, I liked it for what it was. I thought it could have been a little bit better, but like when you see a movie, I'm like, oh man, this is like movie quality. Like it's a whole nother level. But if I have to keep up with like four ancillary shows to like know what's really going on, like that's a lot of content. Coming in and watching a movie for 2 hours is one thing. Watching 16 episodes of shows, sure, I guess, but once again, me, like with comic books, even I'll just jump in. I don't care. I'll figure it out. Like I don't need,
Yeah.
I don't need to watch everything.
And I'm
But
the exact opposite of that because I
exactly,
like,
like
when
everything you want to know.
those little juicy nuggets of
Yes,
crossover happen, or like
yes,
somebody from a show pops up in a movie, like I want to have that excitement of like, oh my god, I saw this on the show and now it's
yeah,
happening in the theater. Oh my god, this is so great.
yeah.
Now that being said, I do need to admit a couple of things that you may may soften my stance a little bit in your eyes, may put some cracks in my armor. I still have not watched Eternals.
Why? Why didn't you watch it?
Man,
I'm
I
just
hate
curious.
those characters. I think they're so
They're
stupid.
boring characters.
They're boring, stupid characters, and the casting of that show, everything about that Eternals not show, everything about that movie and the casting of it, like the whole vibe of Eternals felt really like not MCU to me. Like those are characters that even fans of the comics don't care about. So who are you making that movie for? Not me. And then the Marvel Instagram spoiled the mid credit scene like 3 days after, or 7 days after the movie came out. It's like, okay, well, that would have been the only thing that I really cared about in the whole movie. So I'm glad you saved me, $20 and a couple hours in the theater.
Well, as much as I'd like to, like, you just jump down my throat for being fatigued, you're not fatigued, or you're just disinterested or whatever. As much as you just jump down my throat about that, I can't even use the Eternals against you because they're the Eternals.
Fair
So I'm not even going to use that against you. That
enough. Fair enough. So
I
there's
do. We
more.
do need to check out that comic series. So I've heard the new Kieran Gillen run is actually good. So I will read it and I will report back to you. I will do a
Zero
field
percent
report.
chance I read that. Yeah, you have to let me know
Sounds
because
good.
I'm
All
not.
right, sounds
I
good.
won't read the Eternals.
I don't believe it
I
either.
don't even want my page turns to show up in the app analytics for Marvel Unlimited.
I'm gonna make a separate account, a burner
Yeah,
account.
I need a burner account for Unlimited. Open it up in my in an incognito browser in Chrome so they can't see what I'm doing.
All
Uh,
right.
so
Point
my
number two.
other minor admittance, Moon Knight.
Oh, but this is the new hot stuff. You love Moon Knight. What are you talking about?
Man, it just
You're fatigued.
I deserve that.
You're
I deserve
fatigued.
that. Every episode, every new episode gets worse for me. Like I'm just so I started watching episode 4. I got halfway through or I was just like bored with it. Like I found
Yeah.
myself playing on my phone. So I just like turned it off. I went back and finished it like a week later. Um I haven't watched 5 and 6. Once I realized I didn't have to watch 5 and 6 to enjoy anything in Doctor Strange, like I knew like it wasn't going to show up in that movie. I was like, screw it. I'll get to this maybe someday. And one more one more thing I have to admit. Like I said at the beginning, I feel like I've been fighting something. Fighting the fatigue. I'm fighting the fatigue.
Bro, it's
But
okay, man.
the
Just get it
next
out.
the next Disney Plus show,
Yeah.
Kamala Khan, Ms. Marvel.
Bro, so here's the thing, man.
And I want to say before you
Say it. Say it. Say it.
my issue with Kamala Khan solely based on the fact that they rebranded the Carol Danvers Ms. Marvel as Captain Marvel. Okay, no problem. But then they just created this new Ms. Marvel who, like, she's not a New York City hero. She lives in like Jersey City or whatever.
Jersey City, baby.
But like, she's an Inhuman. Her power
Already, that's
set is
already an
like,
X.
yeah, like
That's already an
I
X right
think the
there.
Inhumans are just as silly as the Eternals.
Turtles. Yep, that's already an
Her
X.
power set is just weird. It's just like part Mr. Fantastic, but like can also like grow in size like Giant Man. I just don't I don't understand the character like
Yeah,
conceptually. Like I do feel that um I I think Indians in general are underrepresented in comics very, very large way. So I think from the standpoint of like having a relatable character, because there are a lot of Indian Americans. Uh,
she's Muslim.
you can be Indian and still be a
I don't think
Muslim.
she's from India though.
Are you sure?
Whatever. Go ahead. I don't think she is, but go ahead.
Well,
No,
let's fact
I
check
don't
it.
think she. I don't. I don't think she was
Fact check
Indian
it.
though.
See, let's see.
Is she from Pakistan? I thought
She is
she was
she is Pakistani. You're right.
Okay, so here we. I know my material, man.
She is. You're
No,
right.
I know. I know what you're saying. I get what you're saying about representation and like. I mean, I know that we're trying to toe a kind of a fine line, and I Miss Marvel would be an example of a character that I would say they've at least committed to Miss Marvel and put time in it. I
Mhm.
have my concern with some of the things that are going on in DC and Marvel. And we've had conversations about this stuff offline. Is I'm not a fan of like, let's make a character black, let's make a character a part of the LGBTQ community, and like not support these characters. And at least with Miss Marvel and Miles Morales, they have given these characters time to grow. Um, and with that said, I can be critical of these things because I read like I invest in these things too. It's not just me online complaining and bitching about it. So I think I have a little bit more leg room than someone who's just gonna complain about it. Like I can complain about Superman, Son of Kal-El, because I bought all the issues of the comic book and I
Right.
read them. So like I think that gives me a little bit, I'm not saying I'm an authority, but that gives me a little bit more credibility because I will at least try something. I go in with an open shot. You've gone in with an open shot on Kamala Khan. You just don't like the character. That doesn't make you a bad person, a racist.
No,
It
I
makes
yeah.
you're the complete opposite of that, honestly, for people who actually knew you. But like a bad character is a bad character. And I think that's kind of where I'm getting with the fatigue. Like these
I don't even.
characters,
I don't even necessarily think she's a bad character. Just don't call her Ms. Marvel. Like, why'd she have to be Ms.
she took
Marvel?
the
Like, why
mantle
couldn't
because
she?
they had to take the mantle of Miss Marvel. That's why. That's the Marvel thing, though. And that's the fine line that
Yeah,
that's
but
the fine line.
they
But
didn't call Riri Williams Iron Girl. She at
yeah,
least
but
got
they
to be
stole
called
the iron.
Ironheart.
Yeah, but they're
Like,
what they're doing there still. They're latching off of the name. It's Miles
I
Morales is
know,
Spider Man.
I know. It's like a
Like what they're
generational thing.
doing.
I know it's a generational thing. Like the younger generation, like a torch
But my
passing,
thing is
but not
like,
really. But
just that's
I
the
love Carol Danvers, man. That's my Ms.
you do.
Marvel. Like I just don't like Ms. Marvel because I'm grumpy about her
Yeah,
not being Ms. Marvel anymore. Like that's what it
but
comes down to.
my thing is if you're gonna do that stuff, like here's our ultimate problem with Miles. It has nothing. If Dave can be critical of Miles, I'm gonna stick up for my boy. This has nothing to do with Miles being black.
I'm
Nothing
not
with that.
critical
You
of
know why
Miles.
we
What are you talking
exactly?
about?
I'm critical of Miles. You actually said that you're critical of Miles and you dropped the series. Not
That's because the
I'm
book was
comics wise.
bad, not the
Comic wise.
character.
Exactly. That's what I'm saying. So the problem with these characters is like they don't put good writers and artists on these characters and let them just breathe. That's the problem that I have with these newer
Fair.
characters. But we're
We're
off
way
track of
off.
the
Yeah, we're
MCU.
way off
Yeah, we're
track.
off track of the
The
MCU.
to bring
Bring
it
it back
back.
in. Bring us back
What
in.
I
Bring
was
us back
saying.
in.
I'm probably not going to watch that Ms. Marvel.
Yeah.
Yeah, I just don't like the character.
Yeah. That's fine.
So now I'm like, post Endgame, we've
Yeah.
had Black Widow
Yep.
fumble the bag, massive fumbling of the
6
bag
years
by
too
Marvel.
late.
Yeah, that movie should have happened probably should have happened in phase 2. It didn't.
Yep.
And it was a throwaway movie, a direct to Disney Plus pandemic release.
Yep.
It did Scarlett Johansson dirty on the payout,
The payout. Yep.
like all that, like black eye for Marvel and Disney. Um, got some Disney Plus shows, and then we got like the true kickoff to the next phase of the MCU, which was Shang-Chi, which was, in my opinion, another E or D level character. Uh, got a decent movie. It was a fun movie. It wasn't like a top tier film. It's like middle of the pack. It's mid to bottom. That's how we're kicking off the next whatever. And I don't believe there's a clear direction. We got Shang-Chi, we got Eternals, we got Spider-Man No Way Home, now we got Doctor Strange and the Multiverse of Madness. 4 movies that don't even really connect to each other. If you want to throw Black Widow in there too, you can, but it doesn't matter because it's set during the Infinity Saga anyways. So where are we going with this? That lack of direction has someone like me kind of teetering on the brink of maybe I don't invest as much anymore because I think in general, if I compare the 5 movies that have come out since Endgame, the 5 shows, 6 shows, plus shows are better than 5 movies.
Ooh.
And I think part of that
Okay.
is because those shows generally are focusing on characters from the Infinity Saga. We got WandaVision, Scarlet and Vision. We got Captain America and Winter Soldier, or Falcon and Winter Soldier, whatever. You got Loki. Like, these are familiar characters. These are characters that, Hawkeye was amazing. But, we're tying up Hawkeye's story from Infinity Saga.
Dude, I can't stand you.
What?
You literally just ripped my head off and we're saying the same stuff. You just ripped my head off at the beginning. That's what I'm saying, dude. You're fatigued. You're fatigued.
You're fatigued, and I'm fighting the fatigue.
You're fighting the fatigue.
You are asleep in the
I'm
rocking
done.
chair. The
Bro, I'm
recliner
done.
is back. You're
I'm
fully
done.
asleep. I am on the couch, nodding off, but forcing myself awake. And who knows where it's going to go? You know what? Maybe I got another couple hours in me on the couch. Maybe I drag myself to bed. I don't know. But you're already asleep.
I'm in the recliner. I'm like, Black Panther 2? Oh, I'm up now. I'm going back to sleep.
Who knows when that's coming out?
Right.
Because
Right.
now we don't have a Shuri to take the mantle.
Ooh.
I hear about this.
I've heard about her COVID shenanigans. I don't know.
Yeah,
I didn't
like
know. Yeah, yeah. Her
it
all of
basically
her
means like
state.
she couldn't be in the movie because like she wouldn't get
Yeah,
vaccinated or
yeah,
whatever.
yeah,
So now it's like who knows what's going on with that.
yeah. But
But I am cautiously optimistic after watching
okay,
Doctor Strange.
good.
I think that um Thor will give us another really good indication of where we're headed. That you saw in the trailer, we're gonna get the Jane Foster Thor. I
Yep,
love that. Big fan of that.
happy for you.
You don't like the Jane Foster Thor? I thought
I
you read
I
those
have not.
comics and really liked
I have
them.
not. No, I haven't read those comics, so
Oh.
I'm not gonna poo poo on it or whatever.
Yeah,
Seems fine to me.
you should read them.
I need to do a Jason Aaron deep dive when he was a
Yeah.
good writer. But yeah,
Yeah.
no,
Yeah, before he
yeah,
did the
no,
thing we're not gonna speak of yet.
yeah,
We'll get into that later.
yeah,
No, the Jane Foster Thor run was
yeah, no.
like better than I expected it to be, and actually like had a nice emotional wrap up.
I'm down.
It was a good story. So getting I just like having Jane Foster back in the MCU, but getting to see
Yeah,
her as Thor, I think is gonna be.
yeah.
I'd love to see you know, more like more cosmic Thor and less punchline Thor.
Mm,
But I
yeah.
am cautiously optimistic about the future of the MCU, and even though I may be teetering on the brink of being fatigued, I think there's more good than bad still happening.
Okay. I appreciate this optimism out of you. This is beautiful. I don't know if like I had definitely have more optimism in the MCU than like I do with Star Wars. I'll tell you that. Like, and Star Wars is a big like for me. Star Wars is a big thing, and the MCU like Star Wars as a kid, the MCU is the only thing that's come like really close to Star Wars and grabbing my attention of importance and emotional resonance with me. Um, I'm concerned. Like you brought up a really good point about like some of those projects didn't seem like they had the through line like the original MCU did, and like the connective tissue bringing everything together. I don't want to give them too much credit, but like I almost want to think if the pandemic did have something to really like disrupt some of that, like we know it did
Yeah,
with
it did.
like
Yeah.
Captain America and Winter Soldier and like WandaVision, like all that stuff kind of got out of play. So maybe now that we're kind of coming out of it a little bit, things will get a little bit tighter, and they can move forward. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, time will tell.
Yeah.
I just saw something last week maybe that they are currently planning out the next 10 years of the MCU.
And okay.
So, not going away. I mean, as long as these films are making money, they're gonna keep making movies. At some point, we may age out a little bit where the movies don't feel like they're being made for us anymore, but you never know.
Sure.
Never know what's gonna happen there. But I think that the MCU, me, is what Star Wars is to a lot of like Gen Xers.
Yeah.
That's what they had as kids. They fell in love with Star Wars as kids, and now it's like that's their main fandom. And even though the MCU started when I was already an adult, the 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 strong emotional connection that I have to the MCU because it's born from this massive childhood love of comics that I still walk with today. Um, I can feel that there's a kinship there between those two fandoms. And there's a whole generation of kids now that like the MCU is their Star Wars.
Yeah. Yeah. It's crazy. In fairness, you got about like 4 times more MCU movies than I got than the original trilogy. So it's like that's yeah.
But there's a lot of Star Wars content that used to be canon that's no longer. So
Yeah.
did have a lot of extra stuff for a
Yeah, but
while.
not to the level of MCU quality, not to that
Yeah.
production level and
Yeah.
quality.
I mean, I don't want to go into a Star Wars
No,
rabbit
we don't
hole,
have
but
to do
like
that.
I did like the new trilogy, other than which one.
Okay.
I don't
I
want to
don't
speak its
know which
name.
one. I don't know which one,
You
but
ever the
I
one
think it's the
everyone
middle movie.
hates.
The
Yeah,
middle
the Ryan
movie. Yeah.
Johnson movie. I'm not gonna
Okay.
say its name. I won't even give it.
It's like Dumbledore.
Yeah, I'm not gonna give it the airtime. That movie was terrible, but like, in general, I enjoyed the stuff that they've done since. I think Mandalorian's great. I
I
think
There we go. Yes,
Book of Boba Fett
100%.
was kind of a snooze fest.
And that was my Moon Knight. I was told there's a couple episodes you need to watch. Great episodes, but most of it, I was
Yeah,
falling asleep in it.
yeah,
So
yeah. Well,
it's
we could talk Star Wars on another day.
for sure. But like with the MCU, like if I see like you're hyped and you're like you need to check this out, like sure. I was probably going to go see Doctor Strange anyway. I'm just not like a day one guy like I used to be. I can't really do it anymore. But like I'm going to go see that movie next weekend and I'll check it out
I'm
and see
glad.
how it is.
I'm excited to talk about it afterwards.
I'm not like completely turned off to it, but like I mean, if you said go see Eternals, I probably wouldn't go see that. But
Dude, it's
I
been
know
on
you wouldn't
Disney
even
Plus
speak
for
that.
like 2 months, and I still
Yeah,
haven't watched it.
I know you wouldn't speak that into existence, but there are two groups of characters that could bring me back into the MCU pretty hardcore. We don't need to. You know who they are.
I do. Well, I know one for sure. It's the X Men,
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. And
which I'd like to point out. All those movies that 20th Century Fox made are not canon.
you love you. This is
They're
your
not canon.
this is your
Disney
discipleship, dude.
slash
You
Marvel has said They refer to those movies as Marvel legacy films, not MCU. They are not canon.
You love putting people's nose in the dirt just because I enjoyed those movies, man.
They're bad movies.
But them and the Fantastic Four would be another group that I'd
Well, we're
be
gonna get
very
that too.
interested to see.
We're
Yeah.
gonna get that too.
So, and then
I
if
would
they
have.
did, go ahead. If they did a
I would have
street
loved the
level
Fantastic
universe,
Four.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. If they do like a street level universe, I'm there with Daredevil, Punisher, Ghost Rider. Like, if they could pull that off, but
I
that's
mean,
doubtful.
those Netflix shows are back to being canon again. So
So they're canon. They're canon this week. They're back
I mean, I
now.
guess I don't. Daredevil was in Spider-Man
He
No Way
was.
Home.
Oh, who knows? Oh, who knows?
The
But
Wilson Fisk was in Hawkeye.
he was. Who knows?
I mean, generally they could. Generally speaking, they could still leave those shows to be not canon, but just
They could
keep
reboot
the same
the actors.
casting and
Yeah,
just.
yeah.
I don't think anyone would question
No.
Vincent D'Onofrio playing Kingpin in the
Nope.
MCU and Netflix shows still being not part of the MCU. I think most people would be
Exactly.
fine with that because most people wouldn't even look into it enough to care.
Correct.
It's just nerds like us that care.
Correct. And that's how it is for most of this stuff. Like it's whatever.
Yeah.
And at a certain point, like we are the nerds, but like they really shouldn't be building this segment of their business necessarily around us to that level of like nerdedom, like this that kind of crazy continuity. Like if it's good, you're going to accept it and you're going to move on and you're going to enjoy it. So
I will say this though, and I don't know if this is the hottest take, but I feel like the MCU was built on the backs of the comic fan. We were out there like recommending these movies to everybody in the world. Like I told so many people to go see those movies that didn't read comics, and they'd be like, I'm not into comics, and I'd be like, it doesn't matter. Like these aren't comic book movies; they're just good movies. They just happen to be about superheroes.
Yep.
And I'm sure I wasn't the only one doing that, and I'm not taking sole responsibility for the comic fandom making the MCU what it is because it did what it did because they were genuinely good movies. But
who's kidding? Who's kidding? Who we know it wouldn't have been to that level if it wasn't for the comic fans.
Yeah, absolutely.
There's no way. Dude, like we were the people that were hyped about those movies and got people into. Would they have been successful? Yes. I would say the repeat viewings, dude. How many times did you see Avengers in the theater?
3 or 4.
Okay, I think I saw it 6 times. Like we were,
I think I saw it. I saw it 4.
I want to say you've seen it like 4 or 5 times because I feel like I saw it with you twice.
If we saw it twice, then I saw it 5 times.
I remember that kid was screaming, and you told me the story about get the baby out of here, like the one theater.
I don't remember that, but that sounds like something I'd say.
It was the story your buddy Adam. You were referencing that story, saying you want to do that to that kid to get the baby out of there. Yeah. That's why I remember, like, because I remember we saw it one time together, at least that way, because that story came up, and I was like, "What is this story you keep talking about?" But
yeah, I saw it with the person that I was dating at the time. I saw it by myself. I saw it with you, and I saw it with Max.
Okay, so maybe 4 times.
Still. But if you and I saw it twice, then
I feel like we saw it twice. Were you gone? You were not in Erie?
Yeah, I was in Ohio.
Okay, we saw it once together then, because I know we saw it at least one time together. But
all right, then I'm at 4.
Yeah, 4 whatever. 4 times is that's more repeat viewings than you normally get from a movie.
My general strategy on MCU releases was go Thursday night with my significant other at the time, and then I'd go see it myself that weekend again
and enjoy it yourself. Yeah.
So I'd see it twice opening weekend.
Yeah.
I did that for like, I don't know, 20 films. Captain Marvel, I think I saw 3 times in theaters.
Yeah. Yeah, so
and you know what, man? Oh, sorry, go ahead.
No, you go ahead.
I was going to say, at the end of the day, fatigue be damned. Maybe it turns into a thing where I'm only going day one, like you were saying, on the must watches, and the other stuff I'll see it when I see it. I don't think I'll ever get to that point, but despite some of my complaints on things that have come out recently, at least I'm not a diehard DC fan because the DCE it's dead. When they were trying to build it, it was a train wreck. The movies weren't very good. There were a couple of standouts. Justice League wasn't good until they released the Snyder Cut like 2 years, 3 years after the movie came out.
The run it back version.
Yeah, like they rebooted Batman already, but they're still going to release another Aquaman movie and a Flash movie using the Snyderverse castings and universe. They've got shows on HBO Max that are in their own universe, but the Peacemaker show is set in the Snyderverse. It's an absolute mess, much like the DC Comics continuity.
Everything
Mess.
matters, everything counts. When everything matters, everything counts. Nothing matters.
Yeah.
There's no stakes.
Yeah. So when I'm feeling down about something MCU related,
It could
I just
be
think
worse.
it could be worse. I could be watching a Peacemaker show on HBO Max going, what is happening? What does this relate to? Why should I care about this? And why is it important?
Yeah. Yeah. Even with the multiverse, and you see the movie, like I said, I don't know where it goes in all the different directions, but at least all this stuff does count in some way. Who knows what's going on with DC? We got our Wonder Woman and Gal Gadot. Do we not have her? Like, I just clean house. We got to start over. Like, it's just
well, they're already doing another Batman movie with Robert Pattinson.
Yeah.
So who knows where that sits? Maybe that's the start of the new DCEU. I don't know. I mean, I liked the Batman. I thought it was a good movie.
They'll have another Batman. They'll get another Like, it's just a mess. We should really do an episode on DC, like the cinematic universe stuff.
I mean, very negative.
Some people want that. So
maybe we'll do that. Maybe we'll do that. So hey, we're
long.
Yeah, I think we're both slightly fatigued. I think you're more fatigued than me. But in general, I'm still on board for all this stuff.
I'm not. I'm on board for what is like a really good quality, or the projects that are pretty. I don't know. I haven't seen the movie, but Spider-Man was like a high quality product to me. So like that kind of stuff, absolutely, I will go out and I will support it. But some of the other stuff, that ancillary characters, I mean, if I could, I hate to bring a football analogy to Dave, but when I have Darrell Revis, I don't want Buster Screen. Like, it's that simple, right? If I got Darrell, I don't want Buster Screen. So I will invest my money in quality products. That it is what it is.
All right. Well, hey, let us know what you think. Drop some comments if you're watching it on YouTube, or you can tweet at us. Where we're both on Twitter. Those ats will be in the description. We do appreciate anyone's time that's spent any amount of time listening or watching this podcast. Hope you all have a great week. My name's Dave.
My name's Matt.
Avengers Assemble.